explain it. Numbers make it sound measurable. Standing at the rim makes it feel impossible. Long before it was a national park, long before it was called the Grand Canyon by outsiders, this was indigenous homeland. Native peoples have lived in and around the canyon region for thousands of years. The Havasupai, Hopi, Hualapai, Navajo, Zuni, Paiute, and other tribes have deep cultural, historical, and spiritual connections to the canyon and surrounding plateau. For many Native communities, this is not just scenery. It is origin story, sacred place, home, memory, and living relationship. That is the first truth of the canyon. It was never empty. The canyon's geologic story is almost too big to hold in mind. Layer after layer of rock is exposed in the walls, each one a page from an ancient earth book. Some rocks near the bottom are nearly 2 billion years old. The Colorado River, running through the plateau over millions of years, shaped the canyon we see today. But it was not just the river. It was uplift, erosion, freezing and thawing, flash floods, side canyons, gravity, and time doing what time does best, taking something solid and turning it into a masterpiece. European and American exploration brought a different kind of attention to the canyon. In 1869, John Wesley Powell led a famous expedition on the Colorado River through the canyon, mapping, documenting, and dramatizing the region for a wider American audience. Powell's river journey became one of the legendary exploration stories of the West. But even then, the canyon was not easy to understand. It was remote, harsh, beautiful, dangerous, and difficult to access. That changed with the railroad. In the early 1900s, the arrival of rail service to the South Rim transformed the Grand Canyon from a remote wonder into a reachable destination. The Santa Fe Railway and the Fred Harvey Company helped shape the canyon visitor experience. Suddenly, travelers could arrive by train, stay in lodges, eat properly, and experience the canyon with a level of comfort that earlier visitors could not have imagined. El Tovar Hotel opened in 1905, giving the South Rim one of its most iconic buildings. The railroad did not just bring people to the canyon. It helped create the modern idea of Grand Canyon central to the park's identity. The canyon was not central to the park's identity. The canyon was not something to conquer or decorate. It was something to preserve. Finally, on February 6, 1919, Grand Canyon became a national park. That matters. America had already started building a national park system around the idea that certain places were too important to be treated like ordinary real estate. Grand Canyon joined that system as one of its crown jewels. And from the beginning, the park carried a strange balance. It had to welcome people and protect the thing they came to see. That tension still exists today. Over the decades, the South Rim became the main visitor hub, with Grand Canyon Village, lodges, trails, shuttle routes, viewpoints, museums, and visitor services. Bright Angel Trail and South Kaibab Trail became two of the great corridor trails into the canyon. Phantom Ranch, at the bottom near Bright Angel Creek, became one of the most sought-after lodging experiences in the national parks. The North Rim developed too, quieter, higher, more seasonal, and more remote in feel. Together, the rims offer very different versions of the same giant truth. The park also became a place of science. Geologists study its rock layers. Biologists study its plants and animals across dramatic elevation zones. Archaeologists and cultural specialists work with native communities to understand and protect cultural sites. Rangers manage visitors, rescues, fires, roads, trails, wildlife, and interpretation. The canyon may look timeless from the rim, but managing it is an everyday act of care. And then there is the river. The Colorado River is the canyon's original storyteller. River trips through the Grand Canyon became legendary, offering one of the most intense ways to experience the park. From the rim, the river can look like a thin ribbon far low. Up close, it is muscle, movement, cold water, rapids, and raw canyon wall. It reminds people that the Grand Canyon is not just a view. It is a living system. Today, Grand Canyon National Park is one of the most visited national parks in the United States, drawing millions of people from around the world. Some come for a quick overlook. Some hike to the bottom. Some ride mules. Some study rocks. Some come with cameras. Some come with families. Some come once and never forget it. The canyon has a way of making people quiet. Even the loud ones. It pulls the words out of the room. But the modern Grand Canyon story is also a story of responsibility. Crowds, heat danger, water scarcity, trail erosion, cultural preservation, climate pressure, development battles, and visitor safety all shape the park's future. Loving a place this much can damage it if that love is careless. That is why the park asks people to stay on trails, respect closures, carry water, respect tribal connections, protect wildlife, and remember that the canyon is not a theme park. It is a sacred, fragile, powerful landscape. The real story of Grand Canyon National Park is not just that it is big. It is that it is layered. Geologic layers, cultural layers, tourism layers, conservation layers, personal layers. Everybody who stands at the rim brings something to it and leaves with something different. It began as stone and water. It became homeland. It became legend. It became a national monument. Then a national park. Now it remains what it has always been, a place that makes human ambition feel very small and human wonder feel very large. So when you visit Grand Canyon National Park, do not just look out and take the picture. Pause. Listen to the wind. Look at the layers. Think about the people who have known this place for thousands of years. Think about the river still working below. Think about the fact that what you are seeing is not just a hole in the ground, but one of the great stories of Earth, still being written one grain of sand at a time.
The Grand Canyon South Rim is not just a scenic overlook. It is basically a small mountain village wrapped around one of the biggest views on Earth. Once you come through the entrance, especially from the main south entrance near Tucson, you are entering a full visitor service area with lodges, restaurants, markets, shuttles, historic buildings, ranger programs, mule rides, trailheads, museums, medical care, and enough canyon viewpoints to make your camera feel underqualified. For most visitors, the first major stop is the Grand Canyon Visitor Center area near Mather Point. This is a great orientation point because it connects you to parking, shuttle routes, park information, restrooms, the bookstore area, bike rentals, coffee, grab-and-go food, and easy access to one of the most famous rim views in the park. The nearby shuttle system helps visitors move around without constantly fighting for parking, and that is a big deal on busy days. The South Rim is open year-round, but services and hours can shift seasonally, so it is always smart to check the current park operations page before rolling in. From there, Grand Canyon Village is where the historic heart of the South Rim really comes alive. This is where you find many of the classic in-park lodges, including El Tovar, Bright Angel Lodge, Catchina Lodge, Thunderbird Lodge, and Masswood Lodge, all operated through Grand Canyon National Park lodges. South Rim lodging inside the park is available year-round, but it books well in advance, especially during spring break, summer, and fall weekends. Most of the village lodges are within walking distance of the canyon rim, which is exactly why people fight so hard to get those reservations. The lodging is more than just a place to sleep. Some of it is part of the Grand Canyon story itself. El Tovar Hotel, opened in 1905, is one of the park's great historic icons, tied to the railroad and Fred Harvey era. Bright Angel Lodge carries the hand of architect Mary Coulter, whose work shaped so much of the South Rim's historic character. Nearby, Kolb Studio sits right on the rim and tells the story of the Kolb brothers, early canyon photographers and filmmakers who helped build the visual mythology of the Grand Canyon. Kolb Studio currently includes exhibits, a park store on the upper floor, and guided Kolb house tours offered by Grand Canyon Conservancy. Food-wise, the South Rim has more than people expect. Around the village and lodge areas, you can find casual dining, coffee, tavern-style options, dining rooms, pizza, food courts, and grab-and-go choices, depending on location and season. At the visitor center area, Canyon Adventures Bike Tours and Cafe offers a coffee bar, grab-and-go breakfast and lunch, plus hiker and biker supplies. Over at Market Plaza, you will find Canyon Village Market and Deli, the general store, along with nearby Yavapai Lodge dining options. The National Park Service also points visitors to Tucson, about 7 miles south of Grand Canyon Village, for additional groceries, restaurants, and supplies outside the park. Market Plaza is the practical business center of the South Rim. This is where visitors can find the Canyon Village Market and Deli, the U.S. Post Office, ATM machines, Yavapai Lodge, a coffee shop, gift shop, tavern, and restaurant, plus a centrally located parking area with shuttle access. If you need supplies, snacks, basic groceries, mail services, or a central place to regroup, Market Plaza is one of the most useful stops in the park. The post office window is generally open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and ATMs are available at Canyon Village Market and Yavapai Lodge. Then there are the mule rides, one of the most classic Grand Canyon experiences. South Rim Mule trips are offered year-round and are handled through Xterra. These are popular, limited, and should be booked well ahead. The Park Service notes that South Rim Mule rides may be booked up to 15 months in advance and often fill early. Current offerings include rim area rides and canyon experiences, with details and availability changing by season and operation. Phantom Ranch Mule trips. Reservations are handled through the online lottery process. For people looking to learn more instead of just look around, the South Rim also has a strong program side. Ranger programs and special events are offered by location, including Grand Canyon Village, night sky programs, and desert view programs. The park maintains an online calendar for current daily programs, which can include talks, walks, astronomy-related events, cultural demonstrations, geology programs, and seasonal activities. This is one of the most underrated parts of a Grand Canyon visit. You can stand at the rim and be impressed, but a good ranger talk can help you understand what you are actually looking at. The South Rim also gives visitors access to historic and educational stops. Yavapai Geology Museum is one of the best places to understand the canyon's rock layers and landscape story, and it is currently listed with daily hours on the park operations page. Trail of Time is a walking geology exhibit along the rim that helps translate the canyon's enormous timescale into something humans can actually process. Studio, Hopi House, Bright Angel Lodge, Lookout Studio, Historic District all add to the historic atmosphere around the rim. This is not a nature stop. It is architecture, photography, rail history, native-inspired design, tourism history, all stacked together. There is medical care inside the park. Grand Canyon Clinic, operated by Elk Ridge Community Health at 1, offers walk-ins and same-day appointments for routine and sick visits. The Park Service lists services including urgent care, family practice, physical therapy, and virtual visits. From September through May, the clinic is generally open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. During the summer schedule, Memorial Day to Labor Day, hours are listed as 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. For emergencies, visitors should always call 911. Now over on the east side of the South Rim, the Desert View entrance is a whole different kind of arrival. This is the entrance many visitors use when coming from or heading toward Cameron, the Little Colorado River Gorge area, or the eastern Arizona routes. The Park Service says the east entrance at Desert View is open 24/7, and it can be a smart way to avoid some of the heavy south entrance congestion during busy holidays, weekends, spring break, and summer travel. The centerpiece at Desert View is the Desert View Watchtower, designed by Mary E.J. Coulter and opened in the early 1930s. It was inspired by ancient native architecture and decorated with murals by Hopi artist Fred Cavity. From the Desert View area, visitors can see sweeping views toward the Colorado River, the Painted Desert, the Little Colorado River Gorge area, the North Rim, and the Eastern Canyon. It is one of the most distinctive historic structures in the park and a strong first or last stop if you are using the east entrance. Desert View also has practical services. The area includes restrooms, a trading post with Native American handicrafts, coffee and ice cream, a market and deli, a campground in season, and the only gas station within park boundaries on the South Rim. The Desert View gas station has self-service gasoline and diesel available 24 hours a day by credit or debit card at the pump, while the camper store has posted daytime hours. The Desert View Market and Deli, trading post, and gas station make this side of the park especially useful for travelers entering from or exiting toward Cameron. So the simple version is this. The South Rim has the amenities of a small visitor village, but spread across a historic national park setting. You have the Visitor Center and Mata Point for orientation, Grand Canyon Village for historic lodges and rimside character, Market Plaza for supplies and practical services, mule rides and ranger programs for classic park experiences, medical care if you need it, and Desert View for the east entrance, the watchtower, gas, market services, and a dramatic arrival or exit toward Cameron. It is wild country, yes, but it is also one of the most developed visitor service areas in the national park system, and knowing what is available can make the whole trip smoother, safer, and a lot more memorable.
During your visit, park your car, help cut down on pollution and park congestion, and let the free shuttle take you into the park. Hop on and off as much as you like, and the best part? Everyone gets to sit back and enjoy the view. The Grand Canyon shuttle system makes getting around the South Rim a whole lot easier. And right now, the blue, orange, red, and Hikers Express routes are running for the spring season, while the purple route, serving 2C on, is not back in service until summer. The blue route runs daily from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. and connects the visitor center with lodges, campgrounds, market plaza, and other village services. The orange route runs from 6 a.m. until 1 hour after sunset and connects the visitor center with South Kaibab Trailhead, Yaqui Point, Pipe Creek Overlook, Mather Point, and Yavapai Geology Museum. The red route runs from 8 a.m. until 1 hour after sunset and takes visitors from the village area out along Hermit Road to scenic stops including Trailview Overlook, Hopi Point, Mojave E Point, Pima Point, and Hermit's Rest. The Hikers Express is the early bird option to South Kaibab Trailhead, departing Bright Angel Lodge at 6, 7, and 8 a.m. The Backcountry Information Center 10 minutes later, and the Visitor Center 20 minutes later. And for travelers staying in 2C on, the Purple Route is a summer-only service. When it returns, it runs every 45 minutes beginning at 8 a.m., with service between the IMAX Theater, the Squire, the Grand Hotel, Big E Steakhouse and Saloon, and the Grand Canyon Visitor Center.
El Tovar Hotel is not just a place to stay at the Grand Canyon. It is one of the buildings that helped define what a national park lodge could be. Sitting right on the South Rim, steps from one of the most famous views on Earth, El Tovar opened its doors in 1905, years before Grand Canyon officially became a national park in 1919. So in a way, El Tovar was there helping introduce visitors to the canyon before the park system had fully wrapped its arms around the place. The hotel was designed by Charles Whittlesey, the chief architect for the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway. The style was meant to feel elegant and impressive to early 20th century travelers, a mix often described as a Swiss chalet and Norwegian villa. Built from local limestone and Oregon pine, it cost nearly $250,000 to construct, a serious investment for the time. Early visitors considered it one of the most elegant hotels west of the Mississippi, and that reputation helped turn the South Rim into a world-class travel destination. To understand El Tovar, you have to understand the railroad. Before cars and highways made the Grand Canyon more accessible, the train was the grand arrival. The Santa Fe Railway brought visitors to the Rim, and the Fred Harvey Company gave them polished hospitality when they got there. El Tovar was originally operated by Fred Harvey in partnership with the Santa Fe Railway, and that mattered. Fred Harvey's service meant clean rooms, reliable meals, professional standards, and a sense that Western travel could be both adventurous and refined. That Fred Harvey connection is part of why El Tovar matters so much to national park history. The Fred Harvey Company helped shape the visitor experience across the Southwest, especially along the Santa Fe lines. Grand Canyon that meant hotels, restaurants, tours, architecture, and eventually the kind of park village experience that became familiar in other national parks. The idea was not just to bring people to the view. It was to create a complete destination around the view. And El Tovar did exactly that. Imagine arriving by rail in the early 1900s. You step off near the canyon, the air is crisp, the rim is close, and waiting there is this grand hotel built to feel rustic, European, and frontier all at once. You are not camping on the edge of the abyss. You are dining, lodging, walking verandas, and stepping into a carefully crafted version of Western wonder. That blend of comfort and wild landscape became one of the great National Park Lodge formulas. It also sits in one of the most historically important clusters of buildings in any national park. Across from El Tovar is Hopi House, designed by Mary Jane Elizabeth Coulter and built in 1905 as a place to sell native artwork. Coulter would go on to become one of the most important architects of the Grand Canyon's built environment, creating or shaping buildings that tried to harmonize with the landscape and regional cultures rather than simply impose generic resort design on the rim. That is part of El Tovar's wider significance. It belongs to a whole South Rim story. The railroad, Fred Harvey hospitality, Mary Coulter architecture, Grand Canyon Village, early tourism, native arts marketing, and the development of national park rustic style. El Tovar itself is not a Mary Coulter building, but it anchors the historic village where her work became so visible and influential. Over time, El Tovar became more than a hotel. It became a symbol. Presidents, artists, writers, international travelers, families, honeymooners, train lovers, and road trippers all passed through its doors. Staying there became one of those classic Grand Canyon experiences, not because it is the biggest or flashiest hotel, but because it is woven into the story of the place. The hotel is now recognized as a National Historic Landmark and is part of the larger Grand Canyon Village Historic District, which preserves the historic South Rim development that grew around the railroad-era visitor experience. That designation matters because it acknowledges that El Tovar is not just old. It is nationally significant architecture tied to the way Americans learn to visit, interpret, and protect great landscapes. And that is why El Tovar feels different from an ordinary lodge. You are not just sleeping near the canyon. You are stepping into the early national park travel era, when railroads, hospitality companies, architects, and conservation ideals were all figuring out how Americans should experience places like this. It raises an interesting paradox. El Tovar brought luxury and development to the edge of a wild place, but it also helped build public love for the canyon. And public love, when guided correctly, helped protect it. So when you walk past El Tovar today, look at it as more than a hotel. Look at it as a gateway building, a railroad-era landmark, a Fred Harvey chapter, a South Rim icon, a piece of the national park idea taking shape in wood, stone, and canyon light. The Grand Canyon may be the reason people came, but El Tovar helped teach generations how to arrive. Hopi House is one of the most important historic buildings on the South Rim, and it sits right in the heart of Grand Canyon Village, just across from El Tovar. First glance, it looks like it has always belonged there, low, solid, layered, and built into the visual language of the canyon country. But Hopi House was not an accident. It was a deliberate architectural statement, designed in 1905 by Mary Elizabeth Jane Coulter for the Fred Harvey Company as a native arts building and market. That date matters. Hopi House opened in the same year as El Tovar, before Grand Canyon became a national park. So, like El Tovar, it helped shape the visitor experience of the South Rim before the park's official national park era began. But where El Tovar presented polished railroad-era lodging, Hopi House served a different role. It introduced travelers to native art, regional design, and a more place-based idea of what Grand Canyon architecture could feel like. Mary Coulter designed Hopi House to resemble a Hopi pueblo, especially structures associated with Arabi, Arizona. The National Park Service describes it as a large, multi-story stone masonry building shaped and built like a Hopi pueblo. Small windows, terraces, thick walls, and stacked massing were meant to feel rooted in southwestern indigenous architecture rather than imported resort style. For train-era visitors arriving at the canyon in the early 1900s, Hopi House was part shop, part cultural stage, part architectural lesson. It was originally built for the Fred Harvey Indian Arts Department, where native-made crafts could be displayed and sold. In the early years, it was also a working and living space. Some Hopi artists and demonstrators who worked there lived on the upper floors, which made the building more than a storefront. It was part of the living visitor experience at the Rim. That is one of the reasons Hopi House is so significant. It belongs to the Fred Harvey era, when the Santa Fe Railway and Fred Harvey Company were building a complete tourism world around the Grand Canyon. Visitors did not just arrive, look, and leave. They stayed at El Tovar. They walked the Rim. They bought artwork. They saw demonstrations. They encountered a carefully curated version of the Southwest. Hopi House was central to that experience. But the building also carries complexity. It helped bring attention and market access to native artists, but it was also shaped by early 20th century tourism, anthropology, and the Fred Harvey system. Presented native culture to outside visitors through a commercial lens. That does not make the building less important. It makes it more layered. Hopi House is beautiful, influential, and historically significant, but it also belongs to a time when native art, tourism, and outside interpretation were being braided together in ways that deserve thoughtful attention. Architecturally, Hopi House was a major step in Mary Coulter's long Grand Canyon legacy. Coulter would go on to design or influence some of the park's most iconic structures, including Lookout Studio, Hermit's Rest, Desert View Watchtower, Bright Angel Lodge, and Phantom Ranch. Grand Canyon Lodges describes it as still serving its original function as a market for Native American crafts, with Native American dance performances outside on select days, continuing a tradition that reaches back to the early 1900s. So when you walk into Hopi House, you are stepping into several stories at once. You are stepping into the Fred Harvey story, the Mary Coulter story, the railroad tourism story, the Native Arts Marketplace story, the Grand Canyon Village story, and the larger national park architecture story. It is easy to miss that if you are moving too fast. El Tovar gets attention because it is grand and hotel-like. The canyon gets attention because, well, it is the Grand Canyon. But Hopi House deserves a slower look. Notice how it sits low and strong against the rim environment. Notice the stonework. Notice the stacked Pueblo form. Notice that it does not feel like a generic gift shop, even though commerce has always been part of its purpose. Hopi House helped teach early Grand Canyon visitors that this place had a cultural story, not just a scenic one. It helped make native art part of the South Rim visitor experience. It helped establish Mary Coulter as one of the most important architectural voices in the national parks. And it helped show that buildings and parks could do more than provide shelter. They could interpret place. That is the real significance of Hopi House. It is not just an old building beside a famous hotel. It is one of the places where Grand Canyon tourism learned how to look southwestern, how to feel rooted, and how to tell visitors that the canyon was not only a view but a cultural landscape. So next time you are at the South Rim, do not just walk past it on the way to the overlook. Stop for a moment. Let the building register. Hopi House has been standing there since 1905, quietly doing what Mary Coulter did best, turning architecture into atmosphere, history into texture, and a visitor stop into part of the story.
If your idea of travel includes hidden gems, roadside wonders, local events, strange history, and stories worth bringing home, then you need GroverAllOver, your Fora travel agent. Customize your trip with a travel pro who knows how to build experiences that are anything but commercial. From fireworks to fallout, from the scenic route to the secret stop, GroverAllOver takes you a leap beyond travel. GroverAllOver, your adventure.
Blinking screen, too many posts in between. Who's walking in, what's trending out? You need one brain for every doubt. Post go! Do the most, hey! Write it, track it, watch the growth. Original ideas, all you need. From the door to the feet, it's in the notes. Post goes, plan your month, hey! Big or small, we match your goals.
Post Ghost, social media manager. Managed by people, powered by AI. The future is now.
Grand Canyon by River is one of the great adventure stories of the American West. It has everything: unknown water, wooden boats, scientific ambition, danger, hunger, broken supplies, impossible canyon walls, and one determined one-armed Civil War veteran named John Wesley Powell. In 1869, Powell led a small expedition down the Green and Colorado rivers, beginning at Green River Station in what was then Wyoming Territory. His crew set out with 9 men and 4 wooden boats, heading into river country that was still largely unmapped by the United States government. The National Park Service describes Powell's journey through Grand Canyon as a pioneering trip down the Colorado River, and says his party was, as far as is known, the first to make that full river passage through the canyon. Powell was not a casual thrill seeker. He was a geologist, explorer, and former Union Army officer who had lost most of his right arm at the Battle of Shiloh. After the war, he became fascinated with the geology of the West, especially the great unknown canyons carved by the Colorado River system. The National Park Service notes that Powell studied earlier reports, gathered support from institutions including the Smithsonian, railroads, and educational groups, and secured supplies from Army posts before taking on the river. Now imagine the reality of that trip. No satellite maps, no rescue helicopters, no modern rafts, no waterproof dry bags, no easy scouting from above, just wooden boats, rope, muscle, journals, instruments, food supplies, and a river that did not care who they were. They started in May of 1869 and pushed downstream through a world of uncertainty. They ran rapids, portaged when they could, lost gear, damaged boats, and named features as they went. Upstream of Grand Canyon, One boat was wrecked at a rapid that became known as Disaster Falls, and the expedition continued through places with names that still carry that old frontier punch, including Flaming Gorge, Desolation Canyon, and Cataract Canyon. By the time Powell's party entered the Grand Canyon country, the journey had already become a test of endurance. Only 2 days later, Powell and the remaining men reached settlements near the mouth of the Virgin River. 6 men completed the journey. The expedition had survived the Grand Canyon by river, and the American understanding of the Colorado Plateau changed forever. What made Powell's expedition so important was not only the danger, it was the documentation. The U.S. Geological Survey calls Powell's 1869 trip the first well-recorded scientific river journey through an extensive region of the Colorado River Basin. Powell later became a major figure in Western science and served as the second director of the U.S. Geological Survey. So this expedition was not just a wild river tale. It helped shape scientific understanding of. Powell later returned for additional survey work in the early 1870s, and his published accounts helped bring the canyon into the national space. And yet, it is important to say this clearly. Powell did not discover the Grand Canyon. Native peoples had known, lived with, traveled through, and held relationships with the canyon region for thousands of years. Powell's expedition was the first well-documented U.S. scientific river exploration through the canyon, not the beginning of the canyon's human story. That distinction matters. The Powell expedition is still legendary because it marks the moment the canyon entered a new chapter in American mapping, science, and national storytelling. It showed the river could be traveled, though at tremendous risk. It gave the government and scientific community new information about the Colorado River system, and it helped create the kind of public fascination that would eventually support protection of the canyon itself. Today, river trips through Grand Canyon are planned, permitted, guided, supplied, and mapped.
If you've ever looked down into the Grand Canyon and thought, yeah, I'd love to go all the way to the bottom and stay there, Phantom Ranch is the place people dream about. It sits at the bottom of the canyon near Bright Angel Creek, and it's one of the most unusual lodging spots in the national park system. They've got cabins and dorm-style accommodations, plus the canteen for meals and snacks. Advance reservations are required for lodging, and meals also need to be booked ahead.
And this is not one of those just show up and see what happens situations. Phantom Ranch lodging is handled through an online lottery run by Xanterra, and reservations can be made far in advance, up to about 15 months ahead. If you do score a cabin or a dorm bed at Phantom Ranch, you do not need a separate backcountry permit for that overnight stay.
The meal part is important too, because people think, well, I'll just get down there and grab dinner. Not quite. Breakfast and dinner at the Phantom Ranch Canteen are reservation-based, and overnight guests get priority. The canteen side window does sell some snacks, drinks, and small hiker supplies during the day. But if you want an actual meal, you really want to line that up in advance.
Getting there is the adventure. Hikers usually come in from the South Rim on either the South Kaibab Trail or the Bright Angel Trail. The South Kaibab route is shorter, about 7.8 miles down to Phantom Ranch, while Bright Angel is longer at about 9.6 miles. And of course, the part nobody forgets is that you have to come back out too.
And the trails each have their own personality. South Kaibab is the dramatic one. Huge views, very scenic, but less forgiving because there's less water and shade along the way. Bright Angel is longer, but it's the classic corridor trail with key rest stops and services on the route. So a lot of people mix the two, one for going down and the other for coming back up, depending on conditions and their legs. The National Park Service also warns people to check current trail conditions and safety messages before heading out.
There's also the mule ride option for people who want the full old-school canyon experience. Grand Canyon mule rides include overnight trips to Phantom Ranch, though those can be affected by trail conditions, so that's something to verify when booking.
Once you get down there, Phantom Ranch is basically an oasis. You've got the cabins, the dorms, the canteen, Bright Angel Creek nearby, and that feeling that you are way, way off the grid. It's not luxury in the modern resort sense, but it is one of the most iconic overnight stays in the American Southwest.
So the simple version is this. If Phantom Ranch is on your bucket list, start early. Enter the lottery for lodging, reserve meals well ahead, decide whether you're hiking or riding in, and know your trail plan before you leave the rim. Because getting there is not casual, but that's exactly why people remember it forever.
The Tusayan and South Rim area is one of those places where an e-bike can completely change the rhythm of the day. In a car, you're doing the usual national park dance. Line at the gate, circle for parking, step out, look around, get back in, move, repeat. But on two wheels, especially with a little electric assist under you, the whole place slows down and opens up. The forest starts talking. The road shoulders matter. The light through the pines matters. The stretch between Tusayan and the park stops feeling like a commute and starts feeling like part of the trip. And that is the real promise of the area on an e-bike. Not speed, flow. Now, officially, Grand Canyon National Park does give riders real options on the South Rim. The National Park Service says bicycles and e-bikes are allowed on all paved and unpaved roads on the South Rim, and there are about 13 miles of roads and greenway trails designed for intimate exploration. The greenway from the visitor center runs south toward the park boundary, which is what makes the Tusayan connection so appealing in the first place. In summer, the purple route shuttle links Tusayan and the visitor center, and riders can use that transit piece to avoid some of the traffic and parking drama. Inside the park, the paved greenway also reaches out towards South Kaibab and Yaqui Point, and Hermit Road is one of the best cycling corridors on the South Rim because private vehicles are restricted for most of the year. That's the polished version, the brochure version. But the deeper appeal of the Tusayan side of the South Rim is that it sits right on the edge of forest country. Once you step outside the park's formal visitor flow, you start to feel the older Arizona texture. Pine forest, service roads, old infrastructure, the ghosts of earlier tourism eras, horse operations, airfields, fire towers, and those strange little places where history and utility overlap. That's where the area gets character. Tusayan itself isn't just hotel frontage and shuttle stops. It's the lip of a much broader working landscape in the Kaibab National Forest Tusayan Ranger District, a district with biking, hiking, lookout structures, campgrounds, and old trails tied to the bigger South Rim ecosystem. And if you're thinking e-bike, there's an important distinction to make. Inside the park, the rules are pretty clear. Ride where bikes are allowed, not where they are prohibited. The Park Service specifically notes that not every rim-adjacent stretch is open to bicycles and e-bikes, including one section of greenway near South Rim that remains closed to them. So the smart rider doesn't treat the Grand Canyon like an anything-goes pedal zone. The smart rider uses the official greenways, road corridors, and shuttle-friendly routes to build a day that is scenic, legal, and actually enjoyable. That means the e-bike becomes less of a toy and more of a key. One of the most satisfying rides in the area is the corridor that ties Tusayan energy to South Rim access. In summer, the Tusayan shuttle runs every 45 minutes between the IMAX area, lodging stops in town, and the Grand Canyon Visitor Center. The first bus leaves Tusayan at 8 a.m., the last at 8:50 p.m., with return service from the Visitor Center until 9:15 p.m. That means a rider can stage in Tusayan, use the shuttle to skip the long entrance wait, and then cycle from the Visitor Center into the South Rim network. For people who like to mix transit and riding, it's one of the slicker little systems in Arizona. Not glamorous, but very practical. From there, the South Kaibab and Yaqui Point side makes a lot of sense on an e-bike. The Park Service highlights that paved greenway from the Visitor Center out toward the South Kaibab trailhead, with Yaqui Point Road continuing from there. It's a shorter ride than the bigger cross-park fantasies some visitors imagine, but it pays off with huge canyon views and less windshield time. And that's the thing about this area. The dramatic moments don't always require heroic mileage. Sometimes it's enough to let the bike earn you silence, space, and a little bit of separation from the parking lot crowd. Then there's Hermit Road, which is basically made for this kind of riding. The Park Service calls it one of the best places in the park for cycling. It runs 7 miles along the rim. Private vehicles are closed out for most of the year, and there's also a 2.8-mile greenway section between Monument Creek Vista and near Hermit's Rest. You've got overlooks, stretches of quiet, and that very specific Grand Canyon feeling where the land seems too big to belong to the same planet as the road you're on. On an e-bike, Hermit Road gives you that sweet spot. Enough effort to feel like you're traveling, enough assist to keep it fun. Now, outside the park boundary, the flavor changes. This is where Tusayan starts to bleed into backcountry atmosphere. You've got the old horse country feel south of the park, the broad forest roads, and the sense that not every road was built for sightseeing. Some were built for work, some were built for fire access, some for ranching, some for tourism, some for older versions of Grand Canyon travel that have mostly gone quiet. That includes the old Red Butte airfield story, which is one of those strange little corners of Grand Canyon history. Long before modern tourism was polished into its current form, Red Butte Airfield served as the original airport for Grand Canyon visitors, a rougher and earlier aviation chapter out in the forest south of the South Rim. Today, the place survives more as history and atmosphere than as active infrastructure, one of those desert edge sites where you can still feel the bones of an older era. And then there's Red Butte itself, which rises out of the plateau as a distinct volcanic-capped landform south of the park. The Forest Service describes it as a lava-capped remnant where multiple rock eras can be read right in the structure of the butte. The summit and fire lookout are reached by a short but steep trail, not a ride, and the current lookout tower was built in the early 1980s. It is still staffed during fire season and serves a real operational role in fire detection, smoke monitoring, and communications on the Tusayan Ranger District. Now, if somebody asks whether an e-bike is the best way to do the Tusayan and South Rim area, the honest answer is this. For certain days, yes. Not for every fantasy route. Not for every rough road. Not as some outlaw bypass around rules and closures. But for a day that links Tusayan, the Visitor Center, Yaqui Point, South Kaibab Access, and maybe Hermit Road, it is one of the smartest and most enjoyable ways to move through the area. It gives you more than a car and asks less than a full-day hike. It puts you in the landscape instead of just passing through it. And maybe that's the real charm of the whole thing. On an e-bike, the Grand Canyon Gateway stops being only a threshold. It becomes a place in its own right. The forest roads feel older. The watch structures feel lonelier. The old airfield feels stranger. The horse country and service corridors start making sense. And the canyon, instead of being one giant reveal, becomes a slow build experience. First the pines, then the roads, then the hush, then the rim, and that's a pretty good way to arrive anywhere.
Rolling down the boardwalk, big wheels, big grin. Grandma in the basket, kids are jumping in. Hey. Bright green frames and the wild paint jobs. Hit the throttle once and you're off to the shops. Monster e-bikes, ride all day. Custom crazy colors, lead the way. Full day fun, let the good times play. Starting at $29.99 a day. Monster e-bikes, we all shout yay! Monster! Dad's got a chopper with the tall bars. Mom's got a cruiser with the glitter and stars. Pick your beast, every size, every vibe. Family pack photos as you cruise by. Monster e-bikes, ride all day. Custom crazy colors, lead the way. Full day fun, let the good times play. Starting at $29.99 a day. Monster e-bikes, we all shout yay! Monster! Charge it, park it, grab your crew. One big bike parade rolling through. From sunrise fun till the sunset glow. Monster e-bikes, let's go! Monster e-bikes, ride all day. Custom crazy colors, lead the way. Full day fun, let the good times play. Starting at $29.99 a day. Monster e-bikes, we all shout yay! Monster!
Somewhere past the pavement and a little west of reasonable comfort waits Mad Jack's Mule Excursion. Part trail guide, part mountain philosopher, part man who probably has jerky in his pocket, Mad Jack leads backcountry rim hikes and mule excursions departing from Bass Point for folks who don't need polish, they need real. We're talking campfires, canyon air, cast iron cookouts, saddle leather, boot dust, and enough open country to remind you your phone was never that important. Mad Jack's Mule Excursion. Camp out, cook out, get out. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Twitter.
This is KCHIA Radio, broadcast without permission.
All right, shutterbugs, road trippers, desert drifters, and everybody who has ever blown past something beautiful at 65 miles an hour only to spend the next 10 minutes saying, wait, Was that purple? It is time once again for Toto the Photo Guy. And today we are talking about one of Arizona's sneakiest little photo jackpots, roadside wildflowers. Now out here, people get hypnotized by the big stuff. The canyon, the red rocks, the giant sky, the epic overlook. And sure, those are great, but sometimes Arizona slips something wonderful right onto the shoulder of the road. A patch of yellow, a burst of orange, a little spray of purple flowers growing like they own the place. Suddenly the roadside turns into a desert postcard, and if you are paying attention, you have got yourself a photo stop. Now first rule, and Toto means this with love, do not become a highway ornament. If you see a great patch of flowers, only pull over where it is legal and safe. Wide shoulder, clear sight lines, no blind curves, no heroic nonsense. The flower shot is not worth becoming part of the traffic report. Once you are safely stopped, the first mistake people make is shooting the flowers from standing height like they are documenting evidence for an insurance claim. No, get lower. Wildflowers almost always look better when you get down closer to their level. Kneel a little, sweat a little, work the angle. When you shoot downward from 6 feet up, all the charm disappears. When you get low, the flowers suddenly have presence, shape, and attitude. Second tip, do not just photograph the flower. Photograph the setting. Arizona roadside blooms are special because of where they are. Try a wider shot with the flowers in the foreground and the desert, cliffs, distant hills, or open road behind them. That contrast is the whole magic trick. Tiny fragile color against all that big rugged country. That is the photo. Now if you want a close-up, great, but be smart about it. Pick one flower, or one small cluster that looks clean and strong. If the background behind it is messy, move your feet. Shift left, shift right, lower the angle. A better background makes a better flower photo faster than any editing app ever will. A single bloom against soft rock, blue sky, or distant desert color can look fantastic. A single bloom against a pile of road signs, guardrail, and your own dashboard mirror, not so much. Phone shooters, this is your moment too. Tap on the flower you want sharp, and if your phone lets you, pull the exposure down just a touch. Bright petals in hard Arizona light can blow out fast, especially yellows and whites. Protect the highlights first. You can bring up the darker bits later if you need to. And speaking of light, early morning and late afternoon are your best friends. Midday light in Arizona is like being photographed by an interrogator. It is harsh, flat, and not interested in your artistic dreams. But morning and evening light? Softer, warmer, more forgiving. Petals glow, colors separate better, and shadows stop trying to ruin your day. Another good move, especially if there is a breeze, is to take a few shots instead of one. Flowers wiggle. Arizona likes wind. That is just the deal. So do not trust one frame and drive off feeling confident. Take 3, take 5, give yourself options. One of them will be sharper, better balanced, or just feel more alive. Now here is a fun one. If you have a whole field or patch of blooms, do not always stand back trying to get all of it. Sometimes the strongest shot is to find one lane or ribbon of color leading through the frame. Let the flowers guide the eye. A little diagonal sweep of yellow along the roadside, with the land falling away behind it, can look way more powerful than just, look, many flowers. And here comes the Toto sermon for the day. Do not stomp all over the place chasing a perfect angle. Respect the plants, respect the roadside, and respect the fact that the desert does not hand out beauty casually. Work with what is there. Shoot from the edge. Use the lens, use your feet, use your patience, but do not mash the scene into the dirt just to improve your composition by 3%. If you have clouds in the sky, use them. If the road curves nicely behind the flowers, use that too. If a mountain line or red rock ridge sits in the distance, absolutely use it. These photos get better when they feel like Arizona, not just flower close-up number 17. And one last trick, turn around and check the opposite direction. Sometimes the better background is not where you first stopped. Maybe the flowers are glowing better with the sun behind them. Maybe the landscape behind them is cleaner. Maybe the road itself becomes part of the shine. Before you settle, look both ways artistically, and yes, also literally, because again, highway ornament is not the goal. So if Arizona puts on one of those roadside flower shows for you, remember the Toto basics. Pull over safely. Get low. Protect the highlights. Use the landscape. Find a clean background. Shoot wide and close. Respect the flowers. And do not race past the little stuff just because the big stuff has better postcards. I'm Toto the photo guy, reminding you that sometimes the best shot of the trip is the one growing right there on the shoulder.
Tucson is more than just the last stop before the South Rim. It is the front porch to one of the most famous natural wonders in the world, just outside Grand Canyon National Park. Tucson grew up alongside the modern tourism story of the canyon itself. What started as a small support area near the park entrance gradually developed into a full-service gateway community, giving travelers a place to stay, eat, explore, and gear up before heading into Grand Canyon Village and the South Rim. Over time, with the addition of the airport, hotels, tour companies, restaurants, and attractions, Tucson became its own important part of the Grand Canyon experience. Today it serves as a convenient and energetic hub for visitors from all over the world. If you are coming to see the Grand Canyon, Tucson is where the trip can really begin. It offers a range of lodging, dining, gift shops, tour operators, and traveler services, all just minutes from the south entrance. This is where visitors can find hotel stays, restaurant options, helicopter tours, jeep tours, and easy access to the Grand Canyon Airport. It is built for travelers, and that is exactly what gives it its welcoming, ready-to-go feel. Whether you are looking for a comfortable place to stay before sunrise on the rim, a meal after a day of hiking, or a scenic air tour over the canyon, Tucson helps make the whole visit easier and more memorable. Then just up the road is Grand Canyon Village, the heart of the South Rim experience inside the park. Grand Canyon Village brings together the historic lodges, restaurants, markets, visitor services, trail access, shuttle connections, and those unforgettable canyon views people come here to see. This is where the park experience really opens up. With iconic lodging, classic viewpoints, access to Bright Angel Trail, visitor centers, gift shops, and transportation around the village and rim area. It is the operational heart of the South Rim, and the place where history, scenery, and visitor services all come together. So together, Tucson and Grand Canyon Village create a complete experience. Tucson gives visitors a convenient gateway full of services, tours, and accommodations right outside the park. Grand Canyon Village delivers the historic lodges, the rim side, and a deep connection to the canyon itself. One is the welcome mat, the event, and together, they make the South Rim one of the most accessible and national park destinations in America.
Il sistema di navette del Grand Canyon rende gli spostamenti sul South Rim molto più semplici. In questo periodo sono attive la linea blu, la linea arancione, la linea rossa e l'Ikers Express. La linea viola, che collega Tucson, è un servizio estivo e non funziona tutto l'anno. La linea blu opera ogni giorno dalle 7 del mattino alle 21 di sera e collega il Visitor Center con gli hotel, i campeggi, casa e altri servizi del viaggio. La linea arancione è servizio dalle 6 del mattino fino a un'ora dopo il tramonto e collega il Visitor Center con il South Kaibab Trail, Yaki Pond, Pike Creek Overlook, Mother Pond e il Museo Geologico Yavapai. La linea rossa funziona dalle 8 del mattino fino a un'ora dopo il tramonto e porta i visitatori dall'area del village lungo la Hermit Road, con fermate panoramiche come Trailview Overlook, Opie Pond, Moave Pond, Pima Pond e Hermit Rest. L'Ikers Express è l'opzione del primo mattino per raggiungere il South Kaibab Trail e parte dal Bright Angel Lodge alle 6, 7 e 8 del mattino, dal Backcountry Information Center 10 minuti dopo, e dal Visitor Center 20 minuti dopo. Per i viaggiatori che soggiornano a Tucson, la linea viola torna in servizio durante la stagione estiva. In quel periodo passa ogni 45 minuti tra l'Imax Theater, The Square, The Grand Hotel, Big Steakhouse and Saloon e il Grand Canyon Visitor Center.
Want to know where to go, what to see, and what hidden gems are waiting out there? Follow Grover all over. Grover covers travel, events, attractions, unique places, and insider access experiences. With over 1 million views on Google Maps and a growing following on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Whether you are planning your next stop or just love discovering the unexpected, GroverAllOver brings the journey to you. Find Grover all over on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and especially Google Maps, where the channel has its largest reach. Follow and subscribe to them.
I don't quit when the road gets colder. I keep rolling, keep getting closer to who I'm gonna be back there.
Out here, every canyon has a story. Every overlook has a sunset. And every good road trip deserves a better beer. Welcome to Long Fall Brewery, pouring Arizona-inspired craft beer with high country character and canyon country attitude. Try the crisp Abyss Lager, the easy-drinking Devil's Bridge Blonde, the bright and wild Vermilion Cliff Sour, the smooth Walnut Canyon Brown, the bold Yaqui Point IPA, or the rugged Mogollon Rim Red. From trail dust to twilight, Long Fall Brewery is brewed for the view. Long Fall Brewery. Take the scenic pour.
Flagstaff is one of those Arizona towns that refuses to be just one thing. It's a mountain town, a college town, a railroad town, a Route 66 town, a science town, a ski town, a dark sky town, and a gateway to some of the most dramatic landscapes in the Southwest. Sitting at roughly 7,000 feet in elevation, surrounded by ponderosa pine forest, and watched over by the San Francisco peaks, Flagstaff feels different from the postcard version of Arizona. It is cooler, greener, older in spirit, and full of travelers, students, scientists, hikers, artists, families, and people who came through once and somehow never quite left. The name Flagstaff itself goes back to 1876, when settlers reportedly stripped a tall pine tree and raised an American flag to celebrate the nation's centennial. But the larger human story of the area is far older, tied to indigenous peoples and surrounding cultural landscapes of northern Arizona, long before the railroad, Route 66, or the university. This was a homeland and travel corridor in a region shaped by native nations, volcanic activity, forest, water, and high desert movement. The modern town really began to take shape with the arrival of the railroad. Like so many western communities, Flagstaff grew because the tracks made it matter. Timber, ranching, trade, and travel all developed around that rail connection. And later Route 66 brought a whole different wave of road culture through town. That is part why downtown Flagstaff still has such a strong sense of place. It's not a manufactured historic district. The railroad, old hotels, storefronts, neon bars, coffee shops, and walkable streets all stack together into a real mountain western downtown. Then there's the science story. Flagstaff is one of America's great astronomy towns. Lowell Observatory has been part of the city's identity for more than 125 years, and it is famously where Pluto was discovered in 1930. Flagstaff's high elevation, clear air, and dark skies made it a natural place to study the heavens. In 2001, Flagstaff became the world's first international dark sky city, recognizing its long-running commitment to limiting light pollution and protecting the night sky. The city's dark sky protections go back decades, including lighting policies that help balance public safety, economic growth. And the value of a sky is still dark enough to matter. That dark sky identity is more than a tourism slogan. It shapes the way Flagstaff sees itself. This is a city where the night sky is treated almost like civic infrastructure. The stars are part of the economy, part of the culture, part of the scientific heritage, and part of the local pride. You can feel that in the way astronomy, education, and outdoor life overlap here. Flagstaff is not just near nature. It is built around access to it. Economically, Flagstaff has a broad but very recognizable base. Education is a major anchor, with Northern Arizona University giving the city student energy, research activity, jobs, arts, sports, and a steady cultural pulse. Healthcare and social assistance are also major parts of the local economy. And tourism remains one of the city's strongest forces because of Flagstaff's location near the Grand Canyon, Sedona, Meteor Crater, Walnut Canyon, Sunset Crater, Wupaki, and the San Francisco peaks. A regional health assessment identified education, healthcare, and social assistance as the largest industry grouping in Flagstaff, which fits the lived reality of the city. University, hospital, visitors, forest, science, and services all tied together. Tourism here is not just one kind of tourism either. Flagstaff gets Grand Canyon travelers, Route 66 fans, skiers heading to Arizona Snow Bowl, hikers, mountain bikers, stargazers, craft beer seekers, history buffs, families, and road trippers using the town as a base camp. In winter, the San Francisco Peaks and Snow Bowl give the area a ski town edge. In summer, the elevation turns Flagstaff into an escape hatch from the desert heat. In fall, the changing aspens bring leaf peepers. In spring, the town wakes back up into trail season. It is a year-round destination, not a one-season town. But Flagstaff's community story also includes real pressure. Popular mountain towns often come with a trade-off. Beauty attracts people. People bring money. Money brings growth. And growth brings housing stress. Flagstaff has wrestled with affordability, traffic, student housing, tourism pressure, wildfire risk, and the challenge of preserving local identity while still moving forward. That tension is part of the community's personality. It is proud, outdoorsy, educated, creative, and environmentally minded, but also aware that being loved by visitors and newcomers can make life harder for the people who live there. The city's environmental mindset is especially important. Flagstaff sits in fire country, forest country, and watershed country. Forest health, fire prevention, water planning, open space, trails, and dark sky policy are not abstract issues here. They are part of daily life. The surrounding forest is beautiful, but it also requires management and respect. The same landscape that draws visitors also demands care. Culturally, Flagstaff feels younger and more eclectic than many Arizona towns its size. The university helps with that, but it's not only the university. There are musicians, brewers, scientists, service workers, guides, artists, outdoor athletes, tribal community connections, conservation groups, and old school locals all mixing in one high elevation bowl. Downtown can feel lively without feeling enormous. It has coffee shops, breweries, restaurants, bookstores, music festivals, and enough weird little corners to remind you that mountain towns should not be too polished. And that might be the best way to understand Flagstaff. It is a working gateway, not a resort pretending to be a town. It serves visitors, yes, but it also has students in class, nurses working shifts, scientists watching the sky, firefighters watching the forest, musicians loading gear into bars, families trying to afford rent, and locals debating what growth should look like. That makes it more interesting than a simple tourist stop. Flagstaff is where the railroad met the forest, where Route 66 met astronomy, where Pluto entered the textbooks, where the Grand Canyon trip often begins, and where Arizona changes elevation and attitude. It is rugged and intellectual, outdoorsy and bookish, historic and restless. It has pine needles under its boots and starlight in its hair. So if you're past Flagstaff, don't treat it like a place between places. Give it time. Walk downtown. Look up at night. Learn the Pluto story. Drive the old Route 66 corridor. Head into the forest. Notice the peaks. Talk to the people who live there. Flagstaff is not just a road to the canyon. It is one of the great high country crossroads of the Southwest.
The geological history of Flagstaff is absolutely amazing. Here's a little more on that. The ground around Flagstaff looks quiet now. Pine trees, cinders, old roads, mountain light. But under that calm surface sits one of Arizona's strangest and most dramatic geological stories. This whole region is volcanic country. Not ancient in the way people usually imagine geology, not dinosaur old, but young enough that the scars still feel fresh if you know how to read the land. North of Flagstaff sits Sunset Crater, one of the best-known volcanic landmarks in the Southwest, and all around it stretches a field of cinders, lava, pressure ridges, old flows, and yes, lava tubes, the hidden arteries of a landscape that once ran molten. Sunset Crater was born in a violent eruption roughly 1,000 years ago, sometime around the late 1000s, when this quiet high country cracked open and began throwing lava, ash, and cinders into the sky. Imagine living here then. This was not some distant mountain smoking politely on the horizon. This was fire coming out of the earth, ash falling across settlements, black rock pouring over the land, and the whole shape of the region changing in what for geology was basically an instant. The eruption built the cone we now call Sunset Crater, named for the reddish glow near its summit, where oxidized rock catches the light like the sky at evening. It is beautiful now, but it was born in violence. And Sunset Crater was not an isolated oddity. It is part of the San Francisco Volcanic Field, a massive volcanic region spread across northern Arizona that contains hundreds of vents, cones, and eruption points. This whole area has been volcanically active for millions of years. The San Francisco peaks themselves, towering over Flagstaff, are the worn remains of an older volcanic giant, the shredded heart of a once much larger stratovolcano. Over time, the volcanic story kept changing. Big mountains, smaller cones, lava flows, ash deposits, vents opening here, then there. It is not one volcano. It is a whole field of possibilities, a landscape where the Earth has repeatedly found different ways to erupt. That is what makes the region so fascinating. It is not a single event frozen in time. It is a system, a restless history spread across the plateau. Now, when people think of lava, they usually picture the dramatic part: fountains, rivers of fire, the surface destruction. But some of the most interesting evidence is hidden underground in the lava tubes. Lava tubes form when a lava flow cools on the outside while molten rock is still moving through the interior. Think of it like a river that forms its own roof. The outside hardens, the inside keeps running. And when the molten lava finally drains away, it can leave behind a hollow tunnel, a natural volcanic pipe large enough in some cases for people to walk through. Around Flagstaff, these lava tubes are among the most eerie and unforgettable reminders that this peaceful forest was once a field of flowing fire. The most famous is probably Lava River Cave, a long lava tube north of Flagstaff where visitors can descend into the earth and walk through the dark interior of an ancient flow. No sunlight, cold air, rough basalt underfoot, curved tunnel walls left behind by moving lava. It feels less like Arizona and more like entering the inside of the planet's memory. These tubes are not decorative curiosities. They are physical records of motion, heat, and timing. They show that some eruptions here did not just explode upward. They poured outward, spread, crusted over, and drained, leaving these hidden channels behind. And the volcanic history of Flagstaff did not just shape geology. It shaped human life, too. Indigenous communities in the region witnessed eruptions, adapted to changing conditions, and in some cases may have benefited from volcanic soils that could improve agriculture after the worst of the destruction passed. What begins as catastrophe can, over time, become part of a living landscape. That is one of the strange truths of volcanic country. Fire destroys, then enriches. It buries, then creates. The same eruption that covers the land in cinders can eventually help create better growing conditions. Even now, the forests, meadows, and roads around Flagstaff are all laid over this deeper volcanic architecture. You are never really separate from it. Drive through the area and you see black lava rock stacked in cuts along the road. Hike through cinder fields and you feel the ground give slightly underfoot. Look at the shape of the cones, the color of the stone, the rise and fall of the land, and you start to realize this is not random scenery. This is a preserved eruption zone. This is northern Arizona, with its skin peeled back just enough to remind you what built it. And maybe that is what makes the Flagstaff region so compelling. It holds two moods at once. On the surface, cool mountain town, ponderosa pines, crisp air, open sky. Underneath, a violent volcanic history, not entirely ancient, not entirely gone from memory, written into every cone, every cinder plane, every lava flow, every hollow tube running beneath the forest floor. Sunset Crater stands as the headline act because it is visible, dramatic, and young enough to still command attention. But the real story is bigger than one crater. The real story is that Flagstaff sits in a landscape forged by repeated eruptions. A place where the Earth has opened many times, in many forms, and left behind a region that is at once beautiful, haunted, and geologically alive in spirit, if not in the immediate present. So next time you're in the Flagstaff area, Don't just look at the mountains and the trees. Look at the black rock. Look at the cinders. Look at the odd humps and cones on the horizon. And remember that under parts of that quiet high country are lava tubes, the hollow veins of old eruptions, reminders that this peaceful corner of Arizona was once a furnace.
Flagstaff may feel like a mountain town in the pines, but it also holds a serious place in the history of space exploration. This is a city where astronomy, geology, and the night sky all came together in a way that helped shape how humans understood the solar system. Most famously, Flagstaff is home to Lowell Observatory, where Clyde Tombaugh made the first recognized sighting of the object later named Pluto on February 18, 1930. That discovery alone would be enough to put Flagstaff on the cosmic map. But it turns out that was just the beginning.
By design, Lowell wasn't in Flagstaff by accident. The clear air, the elevation, darkness of the sky made this area a natural place to study the heavens. That dark sky advantage became part of Flagstaff's identity over the long haul. In 2001, Flagstaff was recognized as the world's first international dark sky city, and the city points to decades of balancing dark sky protection with safety and growth. The broader dark sky movement in Flagstaff also reaches back to a lighting ordinance first adopted in 1958. So this is not just a town with pretty stars. This is a community that made protecting the night part of its civic DNA.
Which makes perfect sense, because when you start stacking up what happened here, Flagstaff starts sounding less like a stop in northern Arizona and more like a quiet headquarters for space-minded people. Pluto was discovered here. Planetary mapping and observation grew here. And when NASA was preparing for the moon landings, the Flagstaff area became part of that story too. One of the region's volcanic cinder fields